But so I think this is the final chapter on the blue bike, or the GL 1986 GL 1200. Alright, this is probably the last chapter on the 1200 Goldwing. Still trying to get used to this gear shift position. The last time I rode it, I was getting the carburetors lined out on the mixture settings. Think I got all that done. Thinking it had it all done with everything else, except I couldn't get the back brake to work. It just dropped. Nothing there. So I decided I was going to go ahead and try to get it. I'm letting it idle here and try to go down a little bit. Although it chokes all the way off, it's still idling kind of high. I need to adjust that again. It's been a while since it's run. Still idling pretty high. Decided I need to get the back brake fixed. I tell you what, for those guys that work on Goldwings, I feel your pain. Goldwings are good bikes, but holy crap, everything's all tucked in there. I needed to fix the back brake, so I had to go to the rear master cylinder. And even though I knew that the brakes on the Goldwing were integrated, I didn't know exactly how it worked, and found out that the front brake lever doesn't work both front brake calipers. It only works the one on the left. So I was 900-pound bike with me another 250 pounds at, somewhere around the 1100, 1200 pound range, is doing all the practice runs on the first practice runs, and it's only working, all I had was the front brake, so it's only working one rotor, left front rotor. It worked. From working on other bikes, I assumed that when you push the right front lever, both calipers in the front would work. Well, that's not the case. I found out when I took all this apart. The back brake works the back brake and the right front rotor. That's part of the Goldwing brake integration. So I wasn't utilizing full braking power in the front with just the front brake, which is still not real. Boy, it works, but it's not got a lot of pressure in the pedal, but it does work. So that is great. We are still idling way, way, way too high. Well, we're gonna make a short run today. So anyway, yeah, that is way too high. Choke is not stuck. All right, well, I'll give it, maybe we can run it out here. But it's got rear brake now, which it didn't have. That was the last thing I needed to get done on it. None of the electronics work, the dash and everything works, but as far as the CB and radio and all that, I mean, lights did come on when I turned them on, but that stuff is just so old that there's just nothing left for it. But everything else is pretty much okay. I haven't tried, of course, the push to talk and all that. I can't test it because of no CB. But to get in there and get to that rear master cylinder, which is tucked between the frame just above the swing arm on that side, right up next to the gas tank, it is near impossible. I was able to work one of the lines off, the one that goes to the back brake caliper. Couldn't get the other one off. I even ordered some special bending, ratcheting crescent wrenches and all that to work with it, and it was just a pain in the ass. It came down to, which I think is the prescribed motion anyway, or procedure anyway, is to take fuel tank out. Well, if any of you ever taken a fuel tank out on a Goldwing, you know what that entails. I had to take the back wheel off. Still couldn't get enough to get in there to get onto the master cylinder. So then I had to take off the fenders so I could get the sub fender off, which was in the way. And then to get the tank out, you got to take the shocks off, because the tank won't slide past the shocks, which means you got to take off the frame for the trunk and the bags. You got to take the bags off, all that chrome off, undo all that, get the shocks out of the way so that you can then get the stupid tank out. Talk about a pain. And I just, I did it. Then so I pulled the master cylinder, cleaned it all out. The internal workings, all the rubber and stuff inside still seem good, except for the O-ring that goes directly goes around the opening for the reservoir on the rear master cylinder for the back brake. So I I replaced that, got it all cleaned out, got it all back on, and then it was a horrible, I don't know why, but it was trying to get the lines back in. They just didn't want to go. I ended up having to tap out the master cylinder so the lines would get back in. In the process of trying to do all this, the front line that went all the way up to the front brake from the master cylinder, there's just soft metal. It got rounded and squished and leaking like crazy. So then I ended up having to find another line. That's when you realize, wow, this is just way, way too high. I don't know why it starts. Something obviously changed when I was working on it. But so I had to get a new line. Luckily, I found one on eBay, and that's when I realized just how the brake works, because that thing has to go from the front line of the rear master cylinder all the way beside and under the or next to the gas tank, and all the way up to the under the air box, up through the front fairing, down through the front fairing to the front brake. That was fun, weeding that in there, which means you had to take off some more stuff to get it out of the way. I think I'm done with working on Goldwings. They're nice bikes, but anytime you have to take the whole thing apart just to be able to do something that should be fairly simple. Now, my 1980 GL1100, it wasn't integrated, it only worked the back, and it was easy to get to. It was still by the tank and all that, but you could undo it and rebuild it and get it back on without having to take the bike half apart. So anyway, that's what I've done. Doesn't seem real strong. It's got pressure now. Maybe that'll build. I've bled it several times and pumped it and everything else, but it is working. So now when I use both brakes, all rotors are in use. So that's really good, because I didn't realize I was doing all this 60, 70 some odd miles an hour and testing it out. I was only using one rotor. Again, with a 900-pound bike and a 230 some odd pound driver, that's a lot of weight for one rotor. I mean, it worked, but I felt a little uneasy after that. But back brake is working now. Bike seems to be riding okay. For some reason, it's just wildly high on the idle. I did nothing with the carburetor. Maybe moving some cables around. I don't know. I had to adjust that when I get back and get it back down. It's supposed to be around 900 to 1100, I think, RPM on the idle, and it's over 1,000. So we'll have to work that out. But bike still runs, it's doing fine, handles fine. Put the new windshield on it, you can actually see through it. I was trying to get the taller windshield like that was on it before, couldn't seem to find it. So it's a shorter windshield, but it does block wind, and I'm really kind of looking over it. But the other one was getting so yellow and scarred up and everything else, could hardly see through it. So that's nice. But so I think this is the final chapter on the blue bike, or the GL 1986 GL 1200. Except for the idle issue right now, seems to be running just fine. I didn't know that I was ever going to get that back brake fixed. I find it also too, when I put it back, all the lines back into the rear master cylinder, it was still leaking. I had to tap out the front line too, in the master cylinder housing, so because it was not wanting to re-engage. I don't know why. I guess corrosion, I'm not sure. But it was still leaking. So then I found out about this thing that's like thread lock. It's called a sealant, but it's like a thread lock that works for pneumatic. I think it's Permatex puts them out. It works for pneumatic and hydraulic systems to stop leaks. I put that on that, let it cure for about 2 days. And the leaks that were happening on the back master cylinder for that line, no more. I didn't know that stuff existed. I thought thread lock, you just had for bolts to keep it from backing out on you and stuff like that. I didn't think that they had and I didn't think the regular thread lock would work with hydraulic fluid on the, touching it. But I put it in the threads and around the fittings, up on top of the lines where the nut is. Doesn't leak. It's great stuff. It's about the only reason I got pressure in the back brake now. There's no leaks. So, anywho, just running it back home real quickly. Just not a big long. I just want to make sure the brake works, and it does. I could be have a little more pressure in there. Maybe I'll be able to get the pressure built up a little bit. But it's working. So. I think that's the final chapter. Now now I guess I need to get rid of it and find something else to suck up all my time. It was pretty bad there for a while. There was stuff scattered all over the floor of the shop, gas tank parts, and I got it back together with not too many extra parts laying around. I had a few bolts that I wasn't sure where they came from, but I think we're okay. Alright, that's it. I'm going to sit here and see if I can get this idle down where it needs to be. It's better than it was, but it's still around 1650. That's just too high. Talk to y'all later.